I'm just gonna stay here, like not away from you. Thing is that me and Indak we're doing the camp in Warsaw in September, and it's called Hidden Layers. And the idea is to explore the creativity and everything through the footwork and all the everything that footwork gives to the people, to the b-boys and b-girls, like what they can do. So we're doing some questions, and you feel free, like you can answer as you want to. And the first question for you is going to be like, why footwork is important?
Why footwork is important? Wow. Well, first of all, why footwork is important? It's what separates us from any other genre of dance around the world. Breaking, what makes breaking is of the approach and the attitude and energy, of course, but also the footwork. The footwork, man.
Of course,
Because
footwork.
with me saying that, I just want to say one thing because I want to clarify. If you are born with a disability, I don't want to say disability. For me, it's an ability to find another way. All right.
That's for sure.
So if you're born with a shorter arm, shorter leg, or you lost it in an accident, and you still want to break, but there's certain limitations that you have that create limitless possibilities, but they're not footwork oriented, but you want to break. The approach and the attitude is what we do. You understand? There's an energy and approach that makes what we do. So if you don't have certain possibilities for straight footwork because of something in your body, it doesn't mean you're not breaking. But but if you have everything okay, I will say don't eliminate the footwork because the footwork is what makes this dance what it is. You know what I mean? On top of the approach, the energy, and everything. So yeah, for me, that's why it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally agree with you, and that's why we're doing this thing over there also, and that's why we want to talk with you because we know that you have some knowledge and everything, but also like the you like here in the scene for such a long period of time, and I want to ask you next thing also. Uh, in back in the days, how can you describe the difference between east side and west side, I mean east coast and west coast breaking, especially footwork back then in
Okay.
US?
Well, that's a good question because I traveled. I grew up in Puerto Rico. I was born in California and grew up in Puerto Rico. So I saw both coasts. East Coasters going to Puerto Rico, Puerto Ricans from the East Coast. Me being a California Puerto Rican, raised in Puerto Rico, seeing East Coast b-boys, and then going back to California and seeing what's happening in the West Coast as well. Um, when the information got to the West Coast, say 80, 81, 82, you know, around 82 is when I started. Okay. It's when I got to see it and stuff was coming out on TV and stuff. Some of the first people that I saw were dynamic rockers. Okay. Some of the first TV shows that were showing breaking, sometimes they would show clips and they always show clips of a dynamic move, which was the spin move or something
Yeah.
like that. They didn't really focus on the shuffles. When but they showed a little bit of it, you know what I mean? Um, when Flashdance came out, Crazy Legs and Kenny were doing a lot of shuffles in these clips in that 1 minute clip. You know what I mean? The way he did his shuffle, the way he glided to go into backspin and that whip, paying attention to that sweep and everything. Then when New York City Breakers came out, like Beat Street and all these other movies started coming out, you started seeing more and more. But within those years of 82 to when Beat Street came out in 84, Wild Style in 82, showed in theaters in 83, you know, people you meet in between all those years. Like I met a guy named Nasty Nesta from Incredible Breakers. We call him Nasty Nest, one of my mentors. I met another guy named Mouse from Chicago. He was from the Dragons. I don't know what breaking crew he was actually from Chicago, but he would visit Puerto Rico and back. A guy from Manhattan, from New York that moved to California named Demo. Another guy named Scape. All these guys really had a certain way of shuffling. And what I notice is in Cali, people, when they just Cali guys, really focused on the power moves first because that's what was introduced through the media and all that stuff. But if then they started doing the shuffles and the footwork. But I don't think I think the difference was the knowledge of it. The environment was different. I think me analyzing it now, I would say like the rocking was different. Like, when you're around guys that are rocking and hustling and burning, like the
Yeah.
burning and all that. I think in the beginning stages of California, we saw it and we liked that confrontation. So we tried to do whatever small information we had. But in New York for the breaking, it was cultural. You know what I mean? And then we embraced that culture and tried to add in onto what we had in culturally. So I think the burning, the understanding of burning, the cut off sleeves, the rocking do rags, the leaves, the
Yeah.
creasing. I think the cultural of it we embraced because Cali was, zoot suits, Dickies, baggy
Yeah.
pants. More Chicano flavor, tank tops with the cross. Even though New York had that with the shorts and stuff, it was a different kind of reason we rocked it.
Yeah.
When breaking came and hip hop came, uh, hip hop culture in general came, we embraced it because we related to it right away because kind of like stuff that we did, but the energy was a little different. The attack and approach was a little bit different. West Coast started popping, of course, strutting, locking. You know what I mean? That's our dances. So if you look at those genres of how they're done, the pop, the hit, the
Yeah.
strut. Strut means like to strut your stuff, like when you see army guys and they're like boom and their chest is out, like, or when two kids are about to fight, they're like, yo, hit me, like that chest
Yeah.
out, two little kids, and yeah, I think that we'll continue this interview part two in a little while, but I think that strut, we had that kind of attitude. And
Yeah.
when New York came with the breaking, we understood the break is like to break and the way that you're in the face and you can cut off the head. We embraced that right away. Like, so I think even though there were two different coasts and two different approaches and
Yeah.
energies, it was kind of the same in a way. A voice of people that needed to be heard, wanted to be seen, and show people that we can be alive and well. So I think the same purpose was there, but just two different approaches, two different coasts. But we both loved what each other did. When New York saw locking and popping, they embraced it just the same way as we embraced the breaking. So, yeah, we could go on with that question. That's a deep question.
Actually, it's really nice, and like maybe we can do like a small also addition.
Yeah.
In terms of footwork, is there was any difference between styles of East
Yes.
Coast and West Coast, and like what it
That's
was
a good question.
approach, it was the steps, or it was like a totally different vision.
That's a very good question. You know what I mean? Can we do that in part two? Because we have a briefing now. You're
Okay,
part of that
okay,
briefing.
okay.
But that's
Yeah,
save
we're
that
gonna
question.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Okay.
We're gonna yeah, this is the part two. We're getting back to the same question, and the question was, what was the difference between the footwork approach in East Coast and West Coast in US back in the days?
First of all, the difference, I would say the knowledge first. East Coast, they created it. You know what I mean? So the knowledge was there, the purpose of the sweeps, the understanding of what the sweep does. You know what I mean? Understand that a basic helicopter sweep develops a baby swipe develops a big swipe. You know what I mean? The half sweep into a stab, into a chair freeze, that wrap, the wrapping,
Yeah,
or the half sweep and jumping over it and landing into a knee drop and then spinning up to the corkscrew. Like all that little wrapping, all that little twisting was the development of helping you whip into your 90s, your head spin, your windmills, all that is like a precursor
yeah,
beginning of where it comes from. So all that, I think they had the knowledge of it, the development of it, the creation of it. So that was the difference. But once we understood that, it was a whole ride. Same way with you, coming from Ukraine. The development of it and understanding of, and now the hidden layers in it, and understanding these are the hidden layers, the purpose of each thing. How many doors can you open and what is it useful for? What does it help you with? What does it do? What does it develop? So I would say the main difference was the knowledge in those early days. And then once we got the knowledge and understanding of, oh, this helps
yeah.
me with this.
I even got the goosebumps right now.
Yeah,
At the moment.
and it just keeps getting better and better. So I will say this, imagine how much we still don't know that we will find. Because the more we do it, the more we find. Look, you just made my hair stand up. The more we find, bro. keep an open mind. No matter how good you get people, learn from everything you can. This is why it's important, a lot of courses and just building with people and searching, doing you can, because man, it unlocks so many things. And one day, even if you don't understand it at that moment, 1 year, 8 months, 2 years, whatever, 3 months, maybe instantly you understand it. But there is a time when something just clicks and you're just like, oh my God, this actually helps everything else. Like, it's just mind blowing, man. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely mind blowing. That's for
Yeah.
sure. And I actually want to ask you one thing also to the related to this topic. So, like many people start to come into US, also you start to travel to different continents all around the world. Do you notice also like different approaches
Yeah.
or different visions, like let's say US, Europe, and Asia? And what was it?
Okay, what I'm noticing now throughout the years, and there's always seasons. I call them seasons. You know, when something's popular, and then it changes again, and then like there's always seasons of something. 360 degrees. Life is
Yeah,
a
yeah,
circle, man. It
absolutely.
always repeats, comes back. Somebody finds something, comes back, getting better and better. The recipe's getting better and better. So I do notice differences. Like, again, it's the knowledge of understanding where something comes from or overstanding where something's come from, its purpose. I would say, like, in some Asian countries, they think very technically, okay, and they can mimic and learn it exactly the way you teach it, okay. But sometimes it takes, in some Asian countries, not all, sometimes it takes them longer to find the key of unlocking for originality and finding. Sometimes they keep the drill perfectly the same way that you taught it. They do understand that that drill will lead them into something else, but for some reason they keep that drill. Maybe it's out of respect, maybe it's out of textbook. I'm not sure, but that's what I noticed. Japan, on the other hand, will take something and play with it and mix it and find ways to play. Okay. Um, Europe, depending what part of Europe,
Oh
because
yeah.
Europe is huge. France, you have Algerians, Africans, Moroccans. Like, you have so many different cultures. Um, so I do notice different approaches depending on where they're from, and even if they're from France and even from the Paris. Like, if you look at actual force, they had a different flow. You know what I mean? And a touch on the floor, elongated sweep way of moving. I call it like Gabon. He was a big fan of he is a big fan of martial arts, and so he had this monkey style. And he's from Martinique, but French, but from Martinique. So he had this touch. When I because I roll with actual force too. Kareem focused on the touch. He made sure that nothing sounded heavy. He made sure that everything had a glide. Even when footwork, it could not sound like that. It had to be smooth and clean, but still powerful. You know. So I noticed that it not. I would say this, that even though you're from different places, doesn't mean that that certain place they all break the same. So I'm not gonna say that when I say France, that all of them broke the same. No, it was certain
Not,
individuals.
yeah.
Just like Bronx, you know, you got people from the Bronx that got a Bronx style, but not everybody had that Bronx style from the Bronx, even though they were from there. You know what I mean? Depending on what borough, they had a certain way. Because I know people from the Bronx that look different than what I would consider a hard Bronx style. You know what I mean? But that's my personal opinion. Um, I would say when I met you guys, Ukrainian, the development of what you are now to when I first met you, you guys uh, are thinkers first, you're analyzers, but Ukraine, for me, has a rough culture, cold weather, it's rough, so there's a harder edge, but good people, good hearts, but pure in what they do. So it shows within the dance. And it showed, like, from how you're dancing now to what you were dancing before, It was more technical and move based before. Now it's move based, but you understand a bit more that these moves need to fit the feeling of the music and stuff. But you haven't lost the edge and sharpness of where you come from originally, you know? So that you guys have that mental thinking of structuring and breaking down things, you know what I mean? New York was straight funk revolutionary reason of why you do it. You know what I mean? Attack, a spark. Like it's a spark of light, like hitting two rocks together and those little sparks come out. The shuffles were like that. The expression, like the freezes were like that. It's in your face. You know what I mean? Like boom, like you doubt me, watch what I do. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, the shuffle, you can feel it. The hooks, the attack. For me, good breaking doesn't mean that other breaking is not good, but for me, I like the element of surprise. I don't like to see a move coming. And if a move is coming, it should have some sort of illusion to it. Illusion. Because the illusion creates the effect and the performance. So be it sharp, be it slow, it should have an illusion. And that's why I like Lee so much. His moves have illusion. When I break, I tend to try to have an illusion when I break, you know, a feeling and touch. So if there's a sound, I'm like, "Ooh." I don't just go, there's a certain wow, commitment to it that I become that wind sound or something. You become it. I think there's a difference of people that just break technically, no matter where you're from, and those that immerse themselves in the feeling of what it actually feels like and that they're able to bring out that superhero from inside their comic books that they like, their movies they like, their on top of that move will give it the spice. So I think the knowledge of that understanding of kids being like Fred Astaire or Charlie Chaplin or Bruce Lee or bringing in that from the early days, I think that's a little bit changed nowadays. It's become very technical, but there's a handful of people that do it, you know. So it hasn't been lost. But imagine if everybody was able to express themselves on what they do in real life, how they play their games, and bring it in. Man, it would be such an expression on top of all the moves that they do. It would be like watching movies, different cultures every day, like, you know, on top of all the technicality. You know, yeah. So I hope that helped a little bit.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you, Paul. And
Yeah.
like really, really one last question that I also want to ask. Also, let's get back a little bit.
Hidden layers, baby.
Let's get back a little bit to footwork topic. And
Okay.
like, if you're gonna watch back and nowadays, how you can describe the difference, what has been lost, and what we need to save, and that should be in the footwork. Like no matter the time is, like from back to days to nowadays to the future. Like what's the key?
I think every step has its purpose and should be saved. But I think,
You got it.
like I said earlier, the basic helicopter sweep, which some people call coffee grinder, okay, it was called coffee grinder in some places, but the helicopter sweep, that development will help you lift your legs up in the air to go into better moves and stuff. That creates a whip in the hip and extension in the hip through the back and front. I think you should never lose that. That's a key element to use. Hooks, key elements to use. 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, 6 steps, 7 steps, 8 steps, 9 steps. Rotational movement, spin, sporadic kickouts, front Ukrainian Corsac.
Cat dance.
Yeah, I think the position of being in a duck position, being able to balance there without putting your chest to your knees, you know, having that balance and being able to kick your legs side to side without having to put your hands on the floor teaches you so much stability. And it's the basis of what we do. I don't think that should ever be lost, because that helps you with all your transitions and everything else you're going to do, you know?
Absolutely. Yo, thank you, Paul.
All right. Oh, one more.
One
The
more, one
push,
more.
the push of the ball of the foot, how you rotate your footwork. Think of it like a clock. You got 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Looking from the camera view. If you're going like this and you have inward braking and outward braking, you got inward footwork. So let's say I'm going clockwise. So my legs can go clockwise, but my upper body goes counterclockwise. So my upper body goes a 9, 6, 2, but my legs are still going clockwise. Then I do the same thing clockwise, but now instead of my upper body rotating to the left, I rotate to the right, and that becomes outward braking. I follow my footwork, and that becomes a better glide. Watch Icy Ice for that, because he's the best for that. He has that air footwork, coming. So I think that shouldn't be lost either, because that will help you follow your opponents and everything like that. So there's small little details and techniques that will help you that should never be lost.
Yeah, it's always pleasure to learn with you from you. Like big inspiration. Thank you so much, Paul. Huge respect.
Hidden layers, do their course.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Muchas gracias, hermano.